Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the TexAgs High School Football Show, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Academy has all your high school football road trip needs this season. Get the right gear for the long season with free curbside pickup today at Academy Sports and Outdoors. All right, everybody, week 4 of the TexAgs High School Football Show rolling right along here. I'm Ryan Brauninger. He's Jason Howell. We are presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. So thankful for their sponsorship of this show throughout the course of the football season. Big week. In week 3, I saw an absolute banger in Central Texas on Thursday night, and it involved one of Mr. Howell's TFW teams, who he's spoken a lot about, and I got to lay my eyes on them and came away very impressed. But we'll start with Jason like we always do, recapping his week up there in the Metroplex. Jason?
Yeah, I started off on Thursday out in Fort Worth at Farrington Field. Saw a little Arlington Heights Waco U action. Last time I was at Farrington Field, I want to say was to see Ashawn Robinson, 5-star out of Arlington Heights, going
Blast from the past, yeah.
And then I'd actually covered Waco U's head football coach coming out of Cuero, Carrion Johnson. So I'd actually covered him coming out of Cuero when he signed with Baylor. Yeah, anyways, it was a strong game, 21-20 final score. Waco U got out to a 14-0 lead. London Smith, who I was there to see, 2026 standout prospect, do it all, but a really fluid receiver, runs really crisp routes, trades with margin hooks, sky's the limit. So Evan Stewart, a lot of big time receivers he's working with, and he's got strong bloodlines. Both his mom and dad were college athletes at Baylor, but he had a big touchdown, second reception of the game, and a nice over the shoulder diving into the end zone touchdown. Showed his abilities, but it was Arlington Heights scoring 21 straight points in the second half to come back and pull out the win. Waco U misses a field goal or misses a PAT at the on their last touchdown after a 15-yard celebration penalty, and it was just those mental miscues that made the difference in that ball game. And I got to see a couple new prospects. Arlington Heights has some young guys, a little bit tweeners right now, but they're the son of head football coach Curtis James. It's Kanan James in the 2026 class, defensive lineman, 6'2", 250, and a guy that was district defensive newcomer of the year last year. He was all over the field coming off the edge. 2027, his little brothers, 2027 D lineman Carter and 2027 running back Carson, with big efforts as well. I got a feeling we're going to be hearing a lot about those three over the next few years. Really good size and strong builds. So should be a few guys to keep an eye on over the next few years. And then on Friday night, went out to Melissa. Wanted to, I've been covering Nigel Smith for a long time, since before his first offer, and see him make his commitment there. Went to OU, but also A&M's got a big target in 2026 in interior lineman Owen Hollenbeck.
25.
25. Yep, you're right. And just a guy that's been playing since his freshman year, been starting on that O-line up there, and
they're loaded, man. They're good.
Yeah, and they've been able to move him inside. He's been a tackle a lot of his career there, but he's inside now because they got a 6'6" and a 6'5" tackle that are also in that 25 class that are going to be a couple guys to watch. And that defense flies around. They've got guys all over the place. Melissa definitely showing they're going to be somebody to deal with in the playoffs. But Hollenbeck, go watch those clips. You'll see a big mauler, and a strong leader, finishes with authority, a lot to love in Hollenbeck, who can play guard and center.
I'm starting to really like that 25 offensive line group in the state. I mean, it's really talented. It's got a lot of different body styles, and I'm sitting there trying to make at some point soon we're going to update our rankings, kind of mid-season rankings.
It's hard, man.
It's like, man, like where do you put Owen Hollenbeck, and where does Jonte Newman for me should skyrocket up rankings. He's been awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, you've got those guys that are those high premium position offensive tackles with the length and a lot of tape to go with it, and offers, and then you got guys like like you talk about Dante, and Owen is a guy that, I mean, shoot, he doesn't have the length of some of those guys, but he's just as nasty, and you got to have those interior guys too. So there's a lot of guys in that 25 class. Josh Moses, is one
that's going up my charts quickly is Jermod Odoms at Houston Lamar.
Tell you what, that picture that Cade took this weekend, I was like, okay. I mean,
I want to say we're filming a live body cut here.
Hey, Jason Howell.
We're literally filming a high school football show. Sorry. That's what I get for doing something else.
We got a Zaniac attack over here.
We might have to edit that out. We'll see if he makes the final cut. Anyway, so the offensive line class in the state, in that 25 group, and really for me, the city of Houston in 2025, it's like I'm uncovering big time players. Seems like every week. Anyway, so Thursday, let's go back to my Thursday game. It was on ESPN, and it was a fireworks display between Lake Belton and Red Oak. Obviously, Micah Hudson, who is now committed to Texas Tech, had one of the more crazy catch and runs, juke moves in the open field to score a touchdown early for Lake Belton, who shot out of the gates like a cannon. And Red Oak just kind of kept playing their game. They kept getting back into it. Taz Williams, 2025 receiver with an A&M offer, was outstanding. Kamaran Morgan, the 25 defensive end there, was really active, especially in the first half. 26 speedster Braden Robinson got dinged up, didn't even finish the game. I think he rolled his ankle, but he was good in the first half. And then it was just like, Moody, the quarterback, was making big plays. They had another senior wide receiver make some huge plays. And, Lake Belton shoots themselves in the foot a couple of times. I did like what I saw at a 2026 Lake Belton athlete, Davian Peters. Got a chance to be a really good player, kind of a slot, athlete, Anais Smith type, real shifty and in open space, scored a pair of touchdowns, one rushing, one receiving. But there were so many times where Lake Belton could have won the game, and it got down to like Red Oak had the ball 4th and inches, just on the other side of the midfield stripe, and they were having to go fast because they were out of timeouts. So 4th and inches, you'd think they'd try to get the first down, then spike it. Nope, they take a shot deep to Taz Williams. And I think Reggie Moody is the quarterback's name, threw a beautiful ball. Taz Williams runs under it. They tie it on the touchdown, and then Red Oak misses their 4th point after touchdown on the night to send it to overtime. Well, and they ended up winning it. Lake Belton was able to get a field goal, and then on 4th and 17 from the 24-yard line, Reggie Moody to, I think Dylan Gayton is his name, in the end zone, like in traffic. Moody rolls out, throws a dime in between 2 or 3 defenders, kind of a prayer, and it was answered. And Red Oak just set off wild celebrations after that. It was an incredible game. And look, I think you've talked about Red Oak, but man, I mean, now they've made their way into the 5A Division I top 10, and they look like it, man. They look like a top 10 team. They're really talented.
They have a talented group. They have some seasoned vets in that system.
The middle linebacker,
even the young guys. Yeah, Zach Smith, I think he's committed to SMU, but he had some P5 offers. So, I mean, and now SMU is that now. Yeah. So, Red Oak is a team that's made some runs deep in the playoffs over the last few years. And, they've had some coaching changes over there and a couple of them in recent years, but they've had talent. and it sounds like they've really got it rolling. And this was I think Lake Belton that's always been a game that's been real back and forth. So I told you, I thought this one was going to be a back and forth battle, and sure enough, man, I didn't lived up to the hype. Big player, making big time plays. So
Kamar Morgan, I was kind of unsure about him to start the game, and he came on. His first half, he was all over the place, and I like when guys that are that talented play with that kind of effort. And so I came away. We have him, I think, in the top 20 in that 2025 class. He didn't do anything for me not to believe that. So I was pretty impressed with him. Then on Friday night, made my way down to Rhodes Stadium in Katy and saw a really interesting matchup because both Katy and Katy Tompkins were coming off not surprise losses because Tompkins loses to Bridgeland, good program.
Mm-hmm.
Katy loses to Atascocita, a state championship contender. But you just don't see it very often where those two teams are coming off of losses and playing each other. And I tell you what, you especially don't see Katy come off regular season losses hardly ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they made it a point to make a statement in that game. And really, Katy Tompkins scored the first 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not the same team without a healthy Wyatt Young. And he tried to gut through it, playing on a bad hamstring, had a huge scramble on the opening possession, and that led to a short Katy Tompkins score to make it 7-0. And then Katy proceeded to rattle off 41 in a row. And over the course of that game, you could just tell Wyatt Young wasn't right, playing on one leg. And then he had to leave at halftime, around halftime, because he was going into full body cramps.
Yeah.
And so it was always going to be tough for the Tompkins offense against that Katy defense. And then on the flip side, I wrote about it this week in Bronny's Best. My best performer, and it was hard for me to turn down Taz Williams, but the best performer from a game that I saw was Cohen Eccles. I thought he was fantastic at center for Katy. He also played
surprising.
He also played, he also played some at tackle. So he showed his versatility. But man, in that Katy offense, the center is just required to do so much in terms of calls and setting protections and angles and who to pick up. And I thought he did that. Like his leadership qualities, you could tell he was communicating well and being vocal.
Mm-hmm.
But he was also really physical at the point of the attack and played with great leverage too. So, I think I came out of there going, man, for this kid being a center prospect, I loved what I saw. Played through the whistle, putting people in the turf, and then obviously helped pace Katy for a big night offensively. And I mean, Gary Joseph Tigers, they're a machine, like you've always said, Jason. Like you can talk about what they don't. Yeah, you can talk about what they don't have every year, and they just, they keep just rolling people. So it was good to see them bounce back in a big way, and I would expect, potentially even a Katy Atascocita matchup, depending on what division everybody's in later on in the season. All right, so recapping, put the final bows on last week. What were some of the other scores, maybe some teams that stood out for you in Dallas?
Well, I got to start off with this 43-20 win North Crowley had at Lovejoy, and they came out. They got themselves in a little bit of a hole, 13-0, and then they stormed back and pulled the thing out in such a big way. And North Crowley, that's
they're going to be a problem in the playoffs.
They are physical. They have they are fast. They have athletes all over the field. They they've got the tools to make a run. They have guys up front on both offense and defense, and they fly around. They make some plays. They're not intimidated by anybody's jersey. And this is a team that's been on the come up for the last few years, and been knocking on that door. And they seem, that win over Lovejoy really seemed like them knocking it down a little bit. On the road, hostile environment, and such a big win there. And then I got to throw one out to the guys at Lake Highlands, man. 3-0 to start the season. And this weekend pulled out the 51-41 win over Highland Park. And Highland Park has been super impressive to start the year. But running back Deontay Dean he had 31 carries for 376 yards and 4 touchdowns. just a big monster effort by him on the ground. And I mean, Deontay is a guy. He won the running back MVP at the Next Level camp in February, and he's a guy. He's a little bit on the slender side, but man, he brings it at running back. He's got some tools. He's a guy to watch as a prospect there. Pulling in some offers. So really phenomenal effort by those guys. But yeah, those are the two that really jump out to me. And of course, at DeSoto, romps over Sock. You're talking about two strong teams, but DeSoto, you're talking about punching down. You're talking about a 6A and a 5A.
Yeah, and Sock's catching.
Yeah,
I think Sock is catching a lot of heat for dropping games to DeSoto and to Duncanville. They drop them out of the top 10. I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, get back to me in November and December, because that Sock team has a chance to really be a strong contender. Saw them against Lancaster, and they ran away from them. That's a really good Lancaster team too. And then Rockwall pulls out the back and forth over Prosper. So a couple big impressive wins to start the season for Rockwall. So it's things are looking good back there. So
I got 4 teams in Houston I want to shout out. Okay,
all right, go
first. I'll start. I mentioned. We'll start with Summer Creek. Okay,
All right.
They moved to 3-0 with a 34-0 win over a good Klein Collins team. And then staying in that same district, I'll shout out C.E. King. They remain unbeaten with a 40-29 win over Pearland. That district is loaded.
Yeah,
You're talking about those two squads along with North Shore and Atascocita all in one district. It's hard for me not to say that that's the top 6A district in the state of Texas. Furthermore, continuing that, there might be something brewing in HISD for the first time in a long time. Number one, Houston Scarborough, the Spartans, are 3-0 for the first time, I believe, since 1984, if I read that correctly, or the tweet that I saw was correct. And then another 3-0 team, Houston Lamar. And they're 3-0, and they've beaten some really quality programs and beaten them pretty handily. I believe their average margin of victory is 30 points over the course of the first 3 weeks of the season. So, I don't know. It's still really early in the season, but it's just been so long since we've had an HISD team make any noise. Houston Scarborough is a 4A team, and Houston Lamar is a 6A team. So really interesting to kind of keep an eye on both of those and how they navigate through the season. But I like that Houston Lamar team. I watched some of their huddle tape over the course of the weekend and came away really impressed. All right. Where you headed this week, Jason, and as we get ready to sign off here?
Yeah, I'm starting on Thursday, going to be out at Mesquite to watch, Mesquite Horn take on Arlington, and then get a little look at Lamont Rogers, 2025 offensive tackle with a A&M offer, as well as several others. He's one of our top, I want to say he's top 15 in the state, top 10 area. And then you've got, I'll be at Forney to get a look at Kelvion. Get our guy Kelvion Riggins out there at Forney and see them take on West Mesquite. So I'll be down in the southeast of the DFW area this weekend.
All right, Thursday night I'm taking on a game that I didn't realize it was going to have such a big crowd, but Fort Bend Ridgepoint against Fort Bend Hightower. They have cut off, I think, all passes and access now because they're expecting such a large crowd for that. And so we'll see when we get down there at Mercer Stadium in Sugar Land on Thursday. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, when you wrap up, I got a big game. I got to drop at least before we wrap up. So
Fort Bend Hightower, really talented roster. Going to go see 2025 A&M DB offer Cade Phillips. Fort Bend Ridgepoint got some really quality players as well. Ashton Bethel Rollman, Mason Dawson, Austin Carlisle, their quarterback. So. Coach LaFavor's been really great to us over the course of the year. Been a great dude and been great with me in Houston, and obviously Coach Cornelius Anthony at Fort Bend Hightower, former Texas A&M linebacker. So looking forward to that one on Thursday night at Mercer Stadium. Then doing a little small town action on Friday night as the Jasper Bulldogs travel up to Franklin. That's a big time matchup. One of the top teams in 4A Division II against the top team in 3A Division I. Texas A&M linebacker commit Ty Anthony Smith, 2025 offers Keati Armstrong and Demetrius Dean. along with just, for Franklin being a 3A Division I, we've talked about it a bunch over this last couple of years of this show. Really talented roster for such a small town, and they've turned that into back-to-back state titles there for Coach Fannin and the Lions. So I'm excited. I like doing this. My first real small town game of the year, and I like doing the small town stuff.
Oh, they're always fun. And I know I've got a couple. I've got one big game I really want to shout out. You may have a couple up there or down there as well. But the one that I've got circled on my schedule that I'm not able to make it out to, but Guyer Prosper. That's going to be one to keep an eye on. Lots of prospects, in the 24 class all the way down to 27. So a lot of guys to keep an eye on them for both of those squads. It should be a lot of fun.
I got one I'll shout out, not in Houston, but in East Texas. How about Lufkin Longview? That Lufkin undefeated beat A&M Consolidated last week. Has got probably their most talented roster they've had in quite a while. So if you're in East Texas and you're looking for a game to go to, how about Longview and Lufkin? That's right in the heart of East Texas.
That's one of my favorite matchups. You're going to get a knockdown drag out every single time both of those teams play. So love it.
All right, man. Well, be careful on the road. That's our week 3 or week 4 preview of the TexAgs High School Football Show, or the Texas High School Football Slate on the TexAgs High School Football Show. For Jason Howell, I'm Ryan Brodger. Thanks for tuning in.